Hello, welcome back to another video talking about the two-note cards, or at least the ways that you choose two notes in a scale. Let's talk about what happens. This video is going to focus on the concept of rootedness. Now, if I play a chord, because of what I like to call mathemagic, kind of like magic plus mathematics, mathemagic, they kind of feel like there's one note that feels like it's the center and the other two are just kind of helping out, making the chord feel a certain kind of way. And we would call that note the root note. And if I'm going to play a C chord, the root note of a C chord is a C. It makes perfect sense. If I go to a D chord, the root note of a D chord should be a D, and so on for E and F. That's just kind of like the nature of how we perceive music. And that sense of rootedness and finding one pitch and saying, that one is my root. Yeah, we need to start with that one. And then notice that it feels like it's the most important note in the set. And let's say I play that C major chord again. And I'll play it like different, I could play it all at the same time. Or I can do some kind of like a pattern like this. That was just some kind of silly idea that just came out right now. And I don't know if you noticed that that C still felt like it was the most important note, even though it was juggling through the notes one note at a time, as opposed to playing them all simultaneously. The subconscious mind can identify a root, whether you're playing the chords, the chord tones all simultaneously, or arpeggiating them one at a time, so that you take turns playing the notes. I mean, I don't know how many people can sing chords, maybe one, and that's Layla Hathaway. Very impressive, by the way. Although, actually, I've heard my own sister sing some chords, too. It's pretty cool. Oh, yeah, getting back on track. Sorry, I got distracted by singing chords. Usually you can only sing one note at a time. And one of those notes will feel like the root. And it's the root note. The root note is going to be the one that feels like the root. Now, can other groups of notes besides that standard triad feel like it's a root note? Yeah. Wait, let me backtrack. Let me say that sentence again. Can other groups of notes have a root note even though they're not following the same structural pattern as the triad that we all know is a traditional major chord like 1, 3, 5 and such? Yeah. Let's talk about it. Here we have the 6 different two-note cards. They're all laid out so that we could take a look at them. We got orange cards over here, green cards over here, and purple cards over here. I'm going to start with the purple cards because the purple cards are the one where you have the most definitive sense of root. So if I take this purple card and I say, all right, this is a fourth because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 notes and I'm leaving out the 2 in the middle, I can play a song that goes like this. Have you heard that song before? I think you have. And if you haven't, you just heard it now. That's different. That's the other part. Okay, so anyway, I don't know if you noticed, but it starts off with the notes that you would see in this purple card. And if I were to play that, one of them feels like it better fits with both of the notes at the same time than the other one. It sounds to me like the top note better approximates the feeling of both of those notes at the same time than the bottom note does. That's because when you choose two notes like these, and let's be clear, if you only choose two notes like these, this top note is going to feel like the root note of the pair. Now in the other video, I talked about how these are inversions of each other and that this note is the same and then these would be the same but an octave apart. Or I can flip it around, make these exactly the same and make those notes an octave apart. So if I play this starting on the same note, it sounds pretty powerful, doesn't it? It's because that's a power chord. Your 1 and your 5. And in this instance, I would say that this feels like the root, and this feels like the supporting note that says, hey, that other note is definitely the root. Like that. Now, is that going to be the case as I move through the scale? Mostly. Like I said, there's going to be two different ways to play two notes. So if I move this through the scale, you're going to hear this sound like, there's your root, there's your root right there, 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 there's your root right there. Whoa. This doesn't feel so stable and secure as the other ones because this is your diminished fifth. Like I said, there's two ways to play two notes, and these are all, they all have the same number of half steps in between. I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, snap. That's a shorter distance. That's a minor as opposed to the major interval. But we don't use minor and major to talk about fifths. We use perfect and either augmented or diminished. Why? It has to do with the mathematics of what's going on here. I don't like using major and minor so much just in a general way, or specifically talking about the third, because that makes the whole chord sound like a major chord or a minor chord. So, that right there is your diminished fifth. If I had an extra half step in there, it's going to feel way more stable, but it's not in the key anymore. And we're using more than just the 7 notes that are in a major scale. And the more we use just the 7 notes in a major scale, the more we can just tell which notes are which from that set of 7 notes in the 7-note major scale. Ah, that brings us back. Okay. So there is a definite root note between these and these. And on these cards, I would say that it's that white dot. Moving right along, we go to this next one. And we're taking a look at the green cards. They're going to work very similarly. If I were to play the green cards, it sounds to me like this is the root note and this is a supporting note that imparts some kind of a mood. And yes, since this is the third, this is where I like to be very specific in my use of major and minor. Sometimes I'll get away with calling a seventh a major seventh, but that's just because of older conventions and naming of chords. Old conventions. So I'll say shooby-doo. That one feels like that's my center note. That feels like the root note. That feels like my new root, and my just move the group, the root note moves too. Move the group, the root note moves too. Move the root note moves too. The root note moves too. Move the group, the root note moves too. Move the group, the root note moves too. Move the group, the root note moves too. If I move the group, the root note moves too. And you heard, because there's 2 ways to play notes. Happy chord, oh yeah, sad chord. That's a sad one. We'll come back to this one, because some people might say that this feels like it's happy. Some people might say that it feels sad. Oh, I did a little trick to make sure that it felt like it was a sad chord there. That feels glad. That feels glad. That feels sad. That one, oh no, who knows? Who knows what that is? It could be happy, could be sad. I can do something to make it feel really weird. Okay, bringing it back to where we started with our do-be-do. So, that's what's happening here. Pretty much, without any sort of ambiguity, this bottom note of the third will feel like it's the root note. We got to say, hey, does that note feel like it's a root note? Well, let's ask ourselves and see what the answer is. Now, just like the other 2 note cards, I can take these and invert them. So I'll turn it inside out, and then I have, instead of a third, I have a 6th, where this note is the same and this is the same but an octave. Or, hey, you know what? Let's take it and flip it this way. So now it goes like this. So if I were to do that instead, it would be like this. That feels like it's the same kind of happy sound that we had from before, but now it's going up to the root note. But now what's interesting, because these notes are further apart, one thing to be very, very careful about is that your ears might insert the memory of another note that's in between. And because you're inserting an extra note, deep down in the subconscious parts of your mind, you're thinking, hey, you know what? This sounds like this could be a major chord. I hear it as a major chord right now because there's a root note that I'm hearing in between. And that third note that's not a part of this chord that I'm adding in with either my conscious mind or my subconscious mind. Right now it's my conscious mind. It's adding it in there, and the invisible note that I'm not actually adding to it feels like the do or the root. But if I add in another note, it can make this note feel like it's a... Yeah, this sounds like it's a sad chord again just by changing one note. Happy chord and a sad chord when... It's a different note in the scale that becomes the root. So, that can happen if you have notes that are farther apart, like a sixth or a seventh, or hey, even jumping into things that span more than an octave by doing open voicings. Now, I think that's as much as I want to say about the third, but of course we can always cycle back to it and explore things that exist. Now, orange cards. These are interesting because there's not really that definitive of a root in these orange cards. It could be one note or the other depending on how you play it. In fact, the same kind of goes for both of these. You can kind of make one note feel like the root note depending on how you play it, depending on what order, what sequence in which you put those notes in order. I know, I'm trying to be redundant here just to drive the point that order of notes matters. That's why people write songs. And that's why you can use the same 5 notes for like a million different songs, but the order is what determines what the song is and how you remember it as such. So this one, I can take this and I'll be like, all right, let me roll some different patterns here. I'll take these 2 notes from the orange card and just with, okay, I got the 3 in the triangle and I got the 1 over here. So, it's cool if I do this. By playing that one, that pattern makes it sound like the bottom note is the root. So then I can add another thing over here like this and do like... Sounds like that bottom note feels more important than the top note. But if I were to take this, let's see if it gives us another variation that's a good one. Okay, 3 in the triangle. No, it's the exact same thing again. No, I'm not going to do that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on, hold on, hold on. All right, let's roll this one. Wait, let's roll this one too. Actually, I don't really need the 11-sided die for that one at all. 1 in the triangle, and then the 2. Ah, yes. So that's going to be this one. Still feels like it's the same one because I'm landing on it, leaving that as the last note. It's like the last thing that you tasted. Was it artichokes? Have you ever noticed that drinking water after eating artichokes imparts a certain kind of flavor to water? It's kind of like that, isn't it? No! No! All right, I see the die over there is a 6, and I see that that is a 1 in the triangle. All right, so now wait a minute. But the 2 in the circle, so now... Oh, wait, that's the exact same thing again. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. All right, the 3 in the triangle, and then a number 6. Uh-huh. By landing on the bottom note, it makes it feel like it's the root. If I were to try something again... Oh, it keeps on giving me the same one. Come on, guy. Come on, guy. No, give me a different one. It's like, keeps on giving me the exact same thing. All right, 4 in the triangle. And then, oh, my die's over here. Hold on. I'm on a wheelie chair. but I still do this. This one. All right, here we go. And the number 1. Aha! Finally, something that lands on the other note. Doesn't that note feel like it's more important note by leaving it as the last flavor that your ears taste? Sounds kind of synesthetic, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Of course, I could do the same thing with the 7th. Let's see. All right, stay on the piano. All right, so we got the 2 and there, and then we got the 2 over here. So if I take this, that makes the lower note feel like it is the root. Then if I take this and I go, whoop, hey, and then the 4 in the triangle. Now doesn't that one feel like it's being emphasized? This is the same 2 pitches, but by changing the order of those 2 pitches, it creates a sense that one note is more important than the other note. And that is tremendously important to pay attention to, I think, when practicing music. So, I hope that I got that point across. And if so, if not, if so, that's great. But if not, then I'll just try it again sometime in the future. You let me know if this is available on some kind of social media platform where there is a comment section. Be like, hey, yeah, okay, I think I see what you're getting at. And if not, tell me something like, you use too many words, or you improvise your approach too much. Maybe you should try writing a script. No. Oh, no. No scripts here. Where we're going, we don't need scripts or Back to the Future references. All right. In the meantime, I'll see you. I hope you're well. Peace be with you. Take care.